Hello FNAFers, the spring has come and so did FNAF, and today we're gonna talk about the Talbert Files. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I didn't know either when I got on Twitter this morning and saw that a whole war happened while I was sleeping. When I tried to look on YouTube, I found nothing, and so, after gathering some information about it, I have decided to make this video, as I think it is quite important for more people in the FNAF community to know about this. So, what is Talbert Files? Talbert Files apparently is a leak of scrapped version of the Freddy Files, where they were actual in-universe files containing news and journal entries of different people, and was meant to tie up all of the loose ends by FNAF 6 and pretty much help us solve all of FNAF. But since they are scrapped, they are not canon anymore, and if they are real, we still can't really use it for theories as a base, as it isn't canon anymore, but instead, it should be viewed as another parallel universe like the novels, where it has the same things happen but in a different way, and with different characters. The leaked files by themselves represent little fragments that would have been used in the book and notes attached to them, probably written by Anthem. These files reveals that originally Cassidy was supposed to be the puppet instead of Charlie, and instead of Henry we had these other dudes named Tucker and Talbert. Talbert later got repurposed for Fazbear Fright, where he became a doctor studying Remnant, and the name of phone guy was revealed to be Steve, which is interestingly William's fake phone guy name in the movie. I should note here that it is still not 100% confirmed that it is real, so keep that in mind. It has been public for a year now, but in these past 24 hours, people went from claiming it was a fake fanfic to believing it was real, and even other FNAF theories like Hyperdroid, Underscore, Ghost, and Shadow Libra now believe so too. As for Ideas Fantasy, she has told me that she thinks it might be real, but since we don't have any real confirmation, she will keep herself open-minded to the possibility of it being fake. She also wanted to clarify that she did not see anything back when it was claimed to be fake. Anyways, during all of this situation, people got doxxed, harassed, and accounts were deactivated. So, what really happened over this night? And are the Talbert Files actually real or a big fat hoax? Let's dig into this mess and find out what's the story in all this clutter. It all began with the Twitter user Anthem, who you might recognize from my last video where I talked about the FNAF 2 movie leak, but he is known in the FNAF Twitter community as a reliable leaker, whose leaks usually are true, and he was also the person who got some of the tales from the Pizzaplex books before they were supposed to be released, and posted the notes about the stories in the same format as these Talbert Files. So he so far has been a credible source of information and leaks. For this part, I will use a Twitter thread by a user going by Blind Glasses, who explained the situation after he got all the info and tried to understand the situation from all sides. According to the story, an early version of Freddy Files book was found by Anthem. This version had old version of lore and bunch of ideas by Scott. Anthem contacted Scott to let him know if he can share about this old version. Scott told Anthem that the lore in this book is outdated and not canon, and that releasing info about this book is Anthem's choice, and Scott genuinely didn't show that he cares about it becoming public or private info. Scott basically didn't care, and then decided to keep this information and this book for himself, and kept it private to apparently not confuse the theories community and the FNAF community in general, and make them struggle with the lore even more. Time passed and now leaks of this book started showing up. Anthem decided to say that the Talbert Files, the old version of Ready Files, is fake and it's just a hoax / a fanfic. Someone leaked a private DM of Anthem stating that the book is in fact real, and with what Scott said. The FNAF community knew about this, and they started harassing Anthem for not sharing the book when Scott didn't mind, and that it's not his decision to keep it private, and that he can decide for the entire community on what they want or don't want. The Twitter FNAF community did what they do best and started harassing and bullying Anthem. Anthem deactivated his Twitter account and he's having a hard time right now. And hear what my fellow FNAF theory YouTuber Hyperdroid told me. Some info has been deleted, so you might have missed it, but basically a third party knew they had this book and tried to get any info they could out of the group. Recently, this third party got screenshots of conversations between that group that proved it's legit, and shared that conversation on Twitter, saying that it was being covered up and they do have a real book. I'm unsure who made the document, whether it was the whole group or the third party writing down the info they got, but that was then shared to Twitter too. So then the community started to harass Anthem and the group surrounding them, trying to get them to confirm if it's a hoax or a real thing, begging for an answer. The third party then personally pushed Anthem in DMs for an answer, and despite them having a serious conversation, the third party decided to, for some reason, leak their entire conversation start to finish on Twitter, including a lot of personal info, just to prove that he said it's true. This is what annoyed me the most and caused me to make my thread. Personal info got leaked just to prove a point about a silly outdated draft. After more harassment and now their personal info leaked, Anthem deactivated, and I think the third party did as well. So you can't find some information anymore. Basically, there was a lot of actual friendship drama / serious situations surrounding that group, and therefore that leak. But the third party unfortunately didn't seem to care about any of that, and just wanted to prove it was real, no matter what got leaked or shared and who might get hurt. After all of this happened, most of the posts were deleted, and some of these other people who were part of the station had commented about it, explaining why they did what they did. A user going by Monologue said on Discord this: "We felt lying was the best course of action to take, so we did it. Simple as. I don't care if that angers people, as long as they recognize it was not just Anthem doing this. We all were." And another user going by Maz made a big post about this situation. "This post is being made in my words, but with the blessing of Anthem on his behalf, because he's mentally not really in a good place to be handling social media right now. We'll start by stating it plainly that the Talbert Files is real. It's a scrapped early version of the first Freddy Files book that contains a lot of lore centered around the FNAF 1 to 6 era. However, this book and the information within is non-canon. When Anthem talked to Scott, Scott agreed that it getting out would cause strife, but said it was up to him as to what he does with the book, saying to Anthem, "You are seeing less of the story, but more so ideas for a story I had. And a lot of the book was me jotting down ideas while I wanted to expand the story. Ultimately, it did in fact turn into a prequel story for the next game, one that was too much of a build-up for its own good." Ending the email with, "Whatever is released is what's canon." Media release later down the line contradicts information within. It's an interesting look into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Race Simulator development history, but it's not part of the games or any timeline. I'm not going to go into every single tidbit of the info or trivia about it because I don't really care that much about the lore. Instead, I'd like to ease thoughts and address various things that have been said about Anthem and his decision to withhold the book for so long. Anthem is very cautious about information leaking and knows the damage it can cause. He's not making decisions out of ego, but because he does genuinely care about the community and its developers. Regardless of how you feel about his decision, it wasn't baseless. The fandom already has extensive debates on what media is canon, such as Fries or Tales. So looping an entire scrapped book that acted like a lore guide for a version of the lore that no longer exists seemed like it would have been a bad idea. Beyond that, there's a small subsection of the fandom that's extremely weird about leaks and people who post them. There's already been people in the past that legitimately got upset of Anthem for leaking books with live readings. He went to a store, bought books that were there at the store to be sold, and then read the book and talked about it online. I've even seen people bring this specific thing up today as a point against Anthem, which is hilarious when Scholastic themselves have acknowledged that they know about the live readings and are completely fine with them because they drum up hype and encourage discussion. Again, you, the reader, can disagree with Anthem's decision and wholeheartedly say that you would have just released it. I probably would have released it too. At the same time, neither of us are in Adam's shoes. We warn dogs, send gore in DMs, and harassed and provoked to the point of mental exhaustion all over a scary bear game. The Talbot Files at the end of the day is quite literally just a book, a scrap non-canon book. Adam is a real human being, and I just ask you, keep this in mind. Now, feel free to discuss the Talbot Files as you please. Now, as you can see, all of the posts I have shown here have been claiming that Anthem lied about it being a fanfic, and this is a real leak. But I have failed to find actual evidence confirming that it would be real. There might have been screenshots of Scott's emails or the users talking in the DMs about it being real, but I can't find any, probably because they were deleted, and even then, these are really easy to fake. And after reading these files for myself, what I found was that there were details like Elizabeth's original name being Abigail, which is long for Abby. All of the files seem to match the scrapped Cassidy screenplay that Scott once talked about, and there is even Stitch Wraith, even though the files were written back before FNAF 6 was even made. But the thing is, by the time this leak was first posted, we already saw the first movie trailers. So if it were to be fake, they just rolled down the news info we got. While if it would have mentioned things we did not know back then, it would prove that it is definitely real. The files also claim that Circus Baby's Pizza World was open for a year, while in the game we know it closed on the first day, which is a contradiction to its location, which at the time of this scrapbook was probably finished. Another thing about this that made people think it was fake is that it sounded a lot like some other fanfics, which I don't know, but if so, is suspicious. On a personal note, I found that some things in the files seem to contradict what I have viewed as the most likely placements in the timeline, that being the MCI and Charlie's death. And now that I said everything that makes it less possible to be real, let's talk about the rest of it. First of all, the story the files seem to show did remind me a lot of the original FNAF novels. So in terms of if it sounds like Scott, I would say yes. And the way William was written was perfectly matching with the novel's William. A thing that seemed to match a little with Mike from the movies is that in these files it says that the FNAF 2 dreams are Mike's, which I think is interesting considering that in the movie he sees dreams with MCI and Garrett, who might be Puppet, and we found out about these dreams only when the movie came out. So yeah, in the end, these files seem to be real, based on all of these situations that happened. And the files themselves sound legit in some ways, but we don't have any real confirmation that it is real, so what do I believe? Is it fake or not? Personally, I am really skeptical about it, and considering that it doesn't have any real proof, yet seems legit, I would say that I believe it with a grain of salt, which is about only 70% sure that it is real. If it won't be confirmed to be fake, I will make videos these following weeks talking about things revealed in these files and make a timeline video of the story told in it. But for now, I will link all of the information sources in the description of this video, as well as the files themselves, if you want to read them for yourself. If you have any evidence supporting that it is real or fake, please tell me in the comments, or you can join my Discord in the description below and tell me there. But for now, that's it. Subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my videos, press that like button with a bell, and remember, I always come back.